All coaches aspire to be champions, and this time of year is when you set that vision for your team. By now, listeners of this podcast know about signature championship rings and have met some of the signature champion coaches who partner with them to celebrate their achievements. Reputable, affordable, first-class customer service are just some of the ways we keep hearing coaches describe signature championship rings. So as you're ramping up this summer for the upcoming season, create a championship vision for your team now using the design tool at sigaturechampions.com/podcast. Give your team a visual to motivate their pursuit of a championship in 2024. And when your team has a championship moment to celebrate, we highly recommend consulting with Signature Championship Rings.
I mean, especially when you get the work done in the time being. Like, you're not out there just to be out there. I mean, I've known too many guys to be in the office just because that's, what is part of the course for them. But I don't know. I mean, especially if you enjoy that, like, family time and you enjoy kind of like quality of life. I don't know. I mean, this is the best thing you can do for yourself.
On this episode of Coach and Coordinator Podcast presented by Modern Football Technology, we discuss the game-changing impact of technology on self-scout and game planning at Lake Travis High School with offensive line coach AJ Antonescu. We explore how technology enhances game strategy, player performance, and staff efficiency through real-time data analysis and opponent insights. We highlight the technology's time-saving benefits and workflow improvements, emphasizing its role in optimizing game plans and program efficiency. Stay tuned for our winning edge takeaways following the interview. What you see on tape is a direct reflection of what you teach and how you teach. Video is important, but if you don't teach well, you're not going to like what you see on your video. First Down Playbook has been helping coaches teach better for 13 years. It allows you to present installs, playbooks, and practice cards in half the time with NFL quality. Coaching tools like video pairing, a player app, practice schedules, and wristband sheets have made First Down Playbook a program management system with everything in one place. If you're in a position of leadership with your football program, receive a free 1-week look at First Down Playbook. Call them at 512-814-6158 or visit them on their website or social media. Mention Coach and Coordinator Podcast or use the coupon code COACH24 to receive a $100 discount off the normal $700 First Down Playbook team membership price. Links and the phone number are in the show notes. On today's episode of Coach and Coordinator, we visit again with AJ Antonescu, offensive line coach at Lake Travis High School, about some of the things that they're doing with technology to improve their self-scout game planning and how some of the rule changes in Texas will transform some of their workflows moving forward. So, AJ, it's great to have you back here on the podcast.
Yeah, Keith, thanks for having me on here again. Really enjoyed the first time.
Yeah, so the last time we talked about your use of technology and how it's changed some of the way you guys look at things. It's made you more effective, more efficient. At the time, you were utilizing a tool that you could only use during the week. You could use it to game plan. You could use it to run post-game analysis, self-scout reports, a very efficient way of doing things that you incorporated in your workflow. And since that time, Texas has changed its rules. So now there's more uses for the technology for you guys moving forward. Love to hear just a little bit how that rule change affects you and some of the things you see right now that are opportunities.
Yeah, so it's kind of a recap of what we did last time. We used it mainly for self-scout this past year, and we find out a lot about ourselves week by week about kind of who we are offensively, right? And whether, what we're consistent in, what we're inconsistent in, and how we kind of build off of that. Now, with like the new rules with the UIL, we've kind of been told that so you can still use the data capture feature and you can look at reports at halftime, right? So we can kind of see tendencies in game during halftime about whatever team we're playing is attacking us, right? And what they're having success with, what we're having success with, and how we can counter both of those, and in my opinion, make for a better football game.
Yeah, I mean, the reality of what we do during the week is we use data essentially by the time we get to game day from a week ago right? It's a week old. We go into a game. There's always things that change. It's a dynamic game. There's injuries, there's weather conditions, all kinds of things that can affect a game. And so that information very quickly can become outdated, not as useful as it was as you were going into the game and planning things. And we've used all kinds of things from charts and paper and all the different ways we record it and try to figure out where do we need to make these adjustments, what's going on here, what things are most effective for us. And I think coaches get pretty good at it. But the fact of the matter is the technology certainly can do it a lot quicker. So you guys don't have the rules like in California, as an example, where they can use live data during the course of the game to help them make decisions. We talked to Justin Ersick, the defensive coordinator now at Folsom in California, about how they use it in game and how the previous year he used it on offense to help them make decisions. So you guys are getting there with the rule changes, and certainly being able to, at the very least, say at halftime, guys, here's the new data, here's the new reality of what we live in right now with the things that we see happening out on the field.
Yeah, and what's so great about it is so for instance, you watch an opponent all week, you kind of build a game plan off of what they do. But in the same time, those guys who you're playing against are also making their own adjustments for what we do, right? And so oftentimes what you see on game day, there's going to be wrinkles too for what you put in all week. And so the great thing about this is now we can kind of we can chart things that teams are doing and say, hey, look, here's what we've noticed. We're getting more coverage 3 as opposed to cover 1, right? They're dropping these corners a lot more than they are playing man with them. And so we can pick up that's just a minute detail, but we can pick up little details a little bit quicker and kind of see, what their variation of it is in a game. So we can look at that in halftime. We can certainly make adjustments off of it. And that's been a huge benefit for the state of Texas and UIL going forward. We still don't have the complete capabilities that are offered by modern football, but feels like we're inching in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, and ultimately, I think a lot of what coaches do as the landscape changes, I think you do need to see what tools you can utilize that provide you some flexibility in the way that they work. I really believe that technology kind of needs to form fit around the way you do things rather than dictate, here's your new workflow because you're using our technology. And that's what I've seen from modern football, that it is very flexible for you guys to fit into the way you do things rather than changing and having to conform to a piece of technology.
Yeah, well, the good thing about it is benefited our staff efficiency in terms of our workflow, right? So it's cut off hours on the front end and the back end of weeks. And so for one, from a quality of life perspective, guys get to go home earlier, right? And then we also get to see in real time is how quickly things can adjust for what we're doing and how we're preparing for things. And so when we're looking, especially at a self-scout, we can see, we don't need to focus so much on this. We've already run this, 6 times this week, right? What are some things that we need to actually run more? We can capture all that and we can see all that in extremely quick timing. And so it optimizes our workflow a lot better. It's one of the better things about the product.
And that's something we did talk about at length in our previous podcast, which I'll link in the show notes. But for those who didn't listen, I would love for you to shed more light on exactly what that looks like and how you are saving that time compared to the way that you're doing it before. What features of this allow you to cut hours off of your work week?
Well, so the great thing about it is you can intercut it with Excel. So anything that you use in Excel, if you keep kind of like we do, a master sheet of things that we've called, it'll automatically take all that and kind of run reports by however means you want to do that. You can go by game, you can go by series, you can go by seasons, you can go by weeks. It allows you to kind of see what you're efficient at, what you're inefficient at, what you need work on, what you need to, probably scale back some. And so it helps us with all that. So by allowing that, we can see an aggregate amount of data on our season as it's going, or we can look back at previous weeks. We can look at it even that day. Now, the time of it is you got to front load it, which is fine. You're going to be doing the majority of the week work, the front of the week, your Sundays and Mondays, and for us on Saturdays as well. But once you're past those, it's pretty easy going after that. And then what we'll do is we'll upload essentially the game plan on either Thursday evening, Friday morning, and the rest is, Friday game day is taken care of after that.
So we've talked about the changes here and that the workflow on game day will change. And so now you're able to use modern football technology on game day. And you know this, whether you're writing it down or trying to input it into a system, it certainly now is different than when you were sitting in the office and didn't have that play clock running and didn't have somebody trying to call, plays as fast as possible. So you still have to get the data in. What are the advantages for something like modern football technology and being able to do that very efficiently now that you can get that data input? Can't use it till halftime, but you could get it input so that you are able to use the right data, the right information on game day at halftime.
Yes, what's great about it is you preload everything, right? So whether it's Thursday, Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, Friday morning, you preload essentially what you're expecting, and you just auto tag it in the middle of the game. You don't have to tag everything, but so you can easily get in at least, at our pace, we now run a pretty, I wouldn't say a rapid pace, but we're accelerating more than we have in the past. You're able to get that in, we are at least, are able to get our entire play call in and essentially capture the entire defense all within the ramifications before the ball is snapped. Right. And so what we do is you can capture that and it automatically filters into what you want to look at. So whether you want to go look at the third down play, if they're blitzing a lot on third and medium, you can see where third and medium reports are, and you can see exactly like, oh, hey, we've been getting some type of external pressure or internal pressure, or we've been getting a lot of coverage in real-time data. Right now, unfortunately, in Texas, we can't see that yet, but at halftime, we're able to use those functions. And so the easiness of it is you preload the data and you tag it right there. Now, if you have audibles on there, it has that function as well. So if the defense brings a new front, new pressure that you haven't seen yet, or new coverage, there are ways to tag that, and you can see that as well. And also the great thing of it that we use on offense, let's say if something got mistagged, the guy up in the box will use it during the defensive, or when the defense is out, he'll easily go edit that within the click of a button. So I would say the ease to streamline kind of through the app is really kind of one of the huge benefit of it.
As coaches, we know that some of the biggest hurdles to our team's success can come from off the field. Your team needs support to tackle the endless list of expenses, uniforms, training equipment, travel, and more. But raising that money can feel like a full-time job. Thankfully, there's Vertical Raise. Vertical Raise is the premier online fundraising platform using innovative technology to create the easiest and most efficient system available. Raise more money in less time with a local fundraising coach who works with your team every step of the way to customize the ideal fundraiser. With options for online donations, digital discount cards, premium product sales, and even spirit shops, Vertical Raise has top-of-the-line solutions for every fundraising style. To find out more, visit verticalraise.com and we'll get you connected with an exclusive offer on your first fundraiser. I've always been interested in the use of technology to make our jobs more effective, so I'm excited to continue sharing modern football technology with you here on the podcast. This innovative system leverages tendencies to improve self-scouting, game planning, and in-game decision-making at the speed of the game. Modern football stands out because it's a battle-tested platform used by teams at all levels, like four-time national champion Bishop Gorman, the five-time California state champion Folsom Bulldogs, six-time Texas state champion Lake Travis, Cal football, and the CFL's Grey Cup champions, the Montreal Alouettes. So book a demo today to see why these teams trust modern football technology. Visit www.teammofo.com/demo and mention Coach and Coordinator Podcast or use the coupon code CC10 to receive 10% off your first year. I think an important point that you brought up in talking about that this is a tool that's just not for coordinators, and thinking about a workflow and thinking about what data you need to get into the game. I mean, you as the offensive line coach, understanding what their pressure plan is to be able to, adjust your protection or understand maybe how they're trying to blitz your run or what they're doing on certain downs allows you to pull your group aside and make your adjustments. And really, you can look at it, at that data, the way you need to as the offensive line coach. The offensive coordinator can look at a certain way. If need be, the quarterback's coach can look at a certain way, etc. That now you really begin to understand things and talk to your players about, here's exactly what you're seeing. And I know you guys now can also use the sideline replay, so you can connect that with some of the visual as well.
Yeah, so, I watch all the pressures at the beginning of every week, and we kind of make our game plan, whether it's protection or run, based on that. And so all that gets loaded into modern football. And so we can see at halftime now, what pressures they're bringing to the specific formations, what downs they're bringing them on. And now we can effectively change how we're going to run things out of particular formations and really like how we're going to ID things now. And so it gives us that capability to adjust on the run in a more clear way.
I think also as you start to develop your thought processes, I think that when you look at, okay, I got this technology now that I can use at halftime, and I got to make sure that, I'm getting the things that are useful. I mean, you as the coach who's watching this, I mean, you could tag it a certain way so that it is useful to you, that it doesn't have to be every single thing that you're putting in, that you may need to know just a certain amount of things. So now knowing, hey, what's really going to be effective for me at halftime is that I have this information. So you guys can be efficient with, hey, here's what we're looking at. Here's what we need to put in here. Some of the stuff can still wait for post-game analysis and all those different things, but you want to be in a very short period of time that halftime gives you efficient with saying, okay, I see what's going on. Here's what we have to do. Here's what happened next. And I think that applies to any position that uses the ball, is thinking about not just globally, like here's our game plan, but also my little part of what I'm able to help and adjust to make us better. Like I said, give the example of the pressure plan. I might be, the quarterback's coach or the receiver's coach who's also responsible for looking at what are the coverages that we're seeing on certain downs, or what are their tendencies there. I mean, because you think back to without using technology, you start to see some patterns, but sometimes maybe they don't become as clear if you don't have a great system for charting those. And I think that's what this puts you into. It gives everybody a certain focus to make sure that, hey, let's get the right data, guys, so we can make the right adjustments here at halftime.
Yeah, if you're a program that values that like we are, then, it's invaluable. We use it weekly. And frankly, what the really cool thing about it is they have an offensive and a defensive version for it. So really, like, your entire staff can use it. Now, I'm not as equipped to talk about how good the defensive one is. I do know it's pretty incredible in terms of the service, but I know offensively, we, it's gotten to a point where we rely on it. And so it certainly this past year helped us kind of figure out who we were. And now kind of looking forward to what the capabilities we're going to have this year. It's going to be pretty impactful on our program, even more impactful on our program.
So again, just for our listeners who might not be familiar with this, I think to wrap this up, thinking about how it's changed workflow over the course of the week and what that looks like from, the end of a game all the way through. I guess the best way we could put it probably is taking it to halftime, where you're going to use that technology again. What does that look like for you guys from your perspective of the work that you're doing over the course of the week? How has it, I guess, changed things for you and maybe streamlined the process?
Yeah, so after a game, let's say we immediately ended a game, and let's say it's 10:30 at night. Previously, kind of before modern football, guys would have to be in there till, sometimes 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, just tagging the data. And so now, because it's kind of preloaded, you tag it during the game, you export it to Microsoft Excel, and then you upload it into Huddle, and it automatically enters it all. And now you're done in a span of 30 minutes. Less than that, depending on what time you can actually get the film actually in. But in terms of tagging the film, it's 5 minutes, you're in and out. The great thing about it is, like, you can mix and match exactly what you want to input for each game. So if you, like we do, we use our entire Huddle column for what we watch the film on as our tag. And so the great thing about modern football is it'll take everything that we want to insert into Huddle for the next day. It'll do that in an instant. And so whether we call the guts, like, your first down or your down, your distance, your yard line, your hash, it captures all that, and it is already there for input the next day. And you don't have to necessarily rely on somebody. We have a guy that does it on Huddle. We've had some mistakes with it, but modern football kind of fixes it. And so that's been a huge deal on the back end. So those guys who get to tag the film afterwards, they're home substantially earlier. And then we go to Saturday. Once we watch our opponent and we start focusing on the next opponent, we can really kind of get an idea of what we're going to be seeing from them. So then from that point, we upload everything into Modern Football, the fronts, the coverages, and we can list essentially like, hey, we need to make sure that we get X amount of runs against this front. We need to get X amount of this concept against this coverage, right? And so we can kind of tally that throughout the week on Modern Football. And then, like, once you get to game day, you have everything that you've already been tagging. And so from then, you literally just point and click on the screen, and it captures it all. And so you're not sitting up there, sweating, looking up and down, trying to write whatever you see on the field. If you preload it correctly, you just press the screen, and it does it for you, which is substantially easier to tap 4-2 over than it is to write it every single play or whatever you see every time. And so the ease of it is pretty incredible. And like, it allows, especially the guy that runs it for us, he can do both. He can capture it and he can see and provide adequate feedback down to the field at a pretty high level.
Yeah, again, I think the efficiency that this gives you, the effectiveness, again, we're scratching the surface. I believe you're going to continue to see the rules change that. We're going to see a lot more use of technology on game day, seeing a lot more allowed across all levels of football. It just makes sense to do that. I think years in the making, I was excited. It was, I think, 2016 when I was coaching college ball. The NCAA allowed it for about 3 weeks, that it was going to be allowed, and then they changed the plans and pulled it away from us. But it caused me to think deeply about, hey, how can I use technology? How can I use the data to make better decisions and to get us to the right places quicker? And I think that's what it does. And, then you look at the benefits of, it is making life better for you. Going home a couple hours earlier from the office is always a good thing.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever really complaining about that, especially like when you get the work done in the time being. Like, you're not up there just to be up there. I've known too many guys to be in the office just because that's, what is par for the course for them. But I don't know. Especially if you enjoy that, like, family time and you enjoy kind of like quality of life. I don't know. This is the best thing you can do for yourself.
Yeah.
When you're in the season, like, and let me at Lake Travis, we put in hours. We got a very dedicated staff to being a part of a really good program. And this helps mitigate overworking, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean? And so I think it's an invaluable piece of our program.
Well, I appreciate you joining us again to share some updates here and how you're going to use this technology moving forward. And certainly best of luck to you and the Cavaliers here in 2024.
Yeah, Keith, I really appreciate you having me back on.
Here are our winning edge takeaways and ideas for implementation. 1. Utilize enhanced game planning and self-scouting. Technology for game planning and self-scouting can significantly improve your team's performance. You can gather and analyze data efficiency, helping your team understand its strengths and weaknesses. Tools like Modern Football allow you to capture detailed play data, which can be used to identify patterns, tendencies, and areas needing improvement. This leads to more informed decision-making and better strategic planning. 2. Make real-time adjustments. The ability to use technology for real-time adjustments during games is invaluable. Although not all states allow the use of live data during games, you can still leverage halftime data to make crucial adjustments. For example, identifying opponents' pressure plans or coverage tendencies at halftime can enable you to tweak your strategies effectively. This adaptability can be the difference between winning and losing in dynamic game situations. And 3, create efficiency and workflow optimization within your program. Technology can streamline many aspects of your workflow, saving time and improving the quality of life for your coaching staff. By preloading data and automating the tagging and analysis process, you can reduce the time spent on administrative tasks. This efficiency allows you to focus more on game strategy and player development. For instance, tagging game film used to take hours, but with modern tools, it can be done in minutes, freeing up time for other critical coaching activities. Be sure to check out our partner, Modern Football Technology. The link to their website is in the show notes. There's a special offer there for our listeners as well. Follow all we're doing at coachandcoordinator.com. Sign up there for our weekly tip sheet, which shares the ideas of each week. And follow us on X at Coach K. Grabowski.